So Far Cry 6 is huge and very fun. There's a lot of stuff to do in this game, a lot of stuff to collect, and even more so, quite a lot to pay attention to, which is why in this video we're gonna go over some of the biggest tips and tricks that will definitely help you out in your journeys. They definitely helped me, as well as a few heads up for some of you guys that are freshly starting the game. I'm not sure if it's out in your region yet, but I've been having a lot of fun with it lately, and yeah, this is pretty much everything that I have learned so far that would definitely fit a beginner. As always, a thumbs up on the video would be super helpful, and let's jump right into it. Let's get started with a few combat/weapon related tips that I have for you, especially early on in the game. And the biggest and best mod that I recommend you have right away on any sniper rifle or assault rifle that you might be using is the armor piercing round. This gives you an absolutely huge boost to velocity, meaning that you're hardly going to have any bullet drop off whatsoever, even when sniping enemy heads from very far away. This literally removes one of the biggest problems you might have with weapons that might not have long range. This pretty much fixes all of that, and it also has the other big bonus on top, which is the fact that it super easily penetrates helmets and body armor. You might think that's not important, but once you get to encounter some of these elite enemies a bit later in the game, it's gonna be super important to have these, as it's gonna take no more than 2 shots to the head to eliminate them without too much hassle. And I would even argue that they are super useful to compensate for some of the suppressors that exist in the game that kind of take away a bit of your velocity and your bullet distance. Another super easy trick that I have in combat for you, especially since some of these healing animations, just like in the previous Far Cry games, kind of slow you down. They literally slow down your movement. Well, guess what? You can actually press the slide button, which would be C on the keyboard and mouse, to slide away, and this will make you travel a little bit faster while still being able to heal yourself up just like normal way. As a matter of fact, you can do this both on a flat surface, yes, it works on that as well, but it works the best if you kind of use it a bit on a slope or maybe a small hill. Just use that on a hill, you're gonna travel a lot longer, and you're gonna be able to still heal your character without having to worry too much about incoming bullets. On a final note relating combat, also pay attention to your amigos, which are pretty much your animal companions. Now, you will unlock these at various points in the main story, plus a few other objectives in there, or if you like pre-order the game, you're gonna get a couple of companions as well, but I'm pretty sure you can unlock them in the game too by different means. But essentially, pay attention to their specific abilities. All of these pets come with 3 different types of abilities that are unique to them, and you will actually have to complete a bunch of challenges relating to them to unlock them in the first place. Like, for example, taking down a number of enemies, or reviving your pet a number of times, or letting it heal in combat a number of times. Just let the pets, especially so, to kill enemies on their own without interfering, otherwise it won't count, and you can unlock some really cool abilities like having faster regen, being able to like kill enemies faster, or being able to reveal important details on the map or on your HUD that will greatly help you in combat. Moving on next, let's talk about exploration, let's talk about unlockables, and a few key mistakes to avoid on the way just in case. The first key mistake to avoid is to not waste your resources at many of the traders and merchants that you will encounter early on in the game. You might be tempted to buy maybe a piece of clothing or another weapon, but let me assure you that the overwhelming majority of these can already be found out in the wild by just doing exploration. Maybe finding hidden caches or hidden chests or other types of containers in enemy outposts and whatnot. Most of these you can already find by doing just that, and I might also argue you will need those resources later in the game to unlock some of the more powerful weapons when you can't find them otherwise. Also, I would suggest to go ahead and turn on the pickup outline in the HUD menu, simply because it's going to make it super easy for you to spot containers from pretty far away, in case you want to break the immersion a little bit. But it's going to make it super easy for you to spot these, and you're definitely going to want to do that because pretty much any location that you go into Far Cry 6, just like in the previous Far Cry games, will be filled to the brim with a ton of containers and a lot of loot. But I definitely suggest paying a close attention to some of these armory or hidden cache rooms, because they actually give you the best rewards out there. Now, to unlock these in the first place, you will need something like an unlock key or something along those lines, maybe a key card or just a straight up key. Now, the way you find these is by just counting the same outpost and finding it maybe on a random desk, on a wall, or also on one of these lieutenants that might be leading that encampment. So taking them down will also give you the same key card. Once you have it in your possession, just go back at the armory, unlock it, and inside of it you should be able to find at least maybe one of these FND caches, or maybe even a cool treasure chest that might give you a unique weapon or maybe something else. And on top of that, also a bunch of resources that will definitely help you out at your workbench. Moving on next, these aren't the only ones when it comes to exploration, and I would also suggest to pay attention to these exclamation marks that you will oftentimes find in new towns, new cities, or new areas that you explore, because most of the time they will reveal a really important point of interest, maybe an enemy outpost, maybe an additional event like a race and whatnot, or maybe something like a treasure hunt. So definitely interact with them. It just takes a couple of seconds, and I especially so suggest the treasure hunts. There's multiple of these on the map, and the cool thing about this is that you can easily do them. They don't take too long, and at the end of them you also get another one of these treasure chests that you unlock with the same kind of like key that you find during that mission, and you're gonna be able to unlock some cool stuff on the way too, like another weapon or maybe a gear piece. Moving on next, let's talk about traversal and vehicles, and there's plenty of vehicles in the game you can unlock and make your own, including a few secret ones that you can summon straight from your weapon wheel as long as you're close to a main road. So these first ones are your rides. You can have 4 of them in total from what it seems. I'm not sure if there's gonna be others in game. The first one you get it by simply doing a bit of the story at the start and you get it for free, and the rest are pretty much something that you will have to discover on your own, so I will make a video on that a little bit later. But these rides are the only ones that are customizable, and you will definitely want to do that, especially on the defensive side. You're going to encounter quite a lot of locations with road spikes, like control points of the enemy, so you will want those to protect your vehicle and not be stopped on your tracks. But there's also offensive capabilities, like you can pretty much put turrets on top, and there's other cool customization options in there that you can find again by exploring. In the meantime, I will focus on the civilian and the military ones and how to unlock them. So in Far Cry 6 you can pretty much make any boat, any plane, any helicopter, any jet ski, or any ATV, and even horse pretty much your own. Now for the civilian ones it's a little bit easier than for the military ones, because you don't have to like get your car all the way up to a vehicle pickup point to unlock it. You can simply better pull out your phone camera instead, scan it, and that will immediately do it for you in a way more convenient way. It's also going to unlock its skins at the same time, so you don't have to worry about those too. Now for military vehicles it's a bit more complicated, because if you pull out your phone it's going to give you an error message that you can't unlock it that way, and what you need to do is to just take these military vehicles to those vehicle pickup points I was talking about, and that is the way you're gonna be able to unlock them and make them your own. Oh, and before I forget, if you got your hands on something like an airplane or maybe something like a helicopter, you will have to pay attention to some of these anti-aircraft sites, which are off limits, and if you fly above them they will immediately start shooting at you and maybe even completely blow you out of the sky. So take them down beforehand. They shouldn't be too difficult. You can even ambush them, maybe throw a grenade or a rocket, or maybe even use a tank to take them down quickly and liberate the skies for you to quickly enjoy them. On a final note, a little bit later in the story, not too far off, like just a couple of hours, you're gonna be able to unlock pretty much your first camp. And one of the first unlocks that I definitely suggest for you guys is going to be this Hideout Network right here, since this is going to automatically give you access to the wingsuit, and I definitely suggest having the wingsuit since this is going to make traversal a lot easier for you. Specifically, it's because if you go onto the map now and fast travel to any point on the map, you now also have the option to kind of drop off or skydive from that point, meaning that if, for example, your destination is nowhere near one of these fast travel points, you can just fast travel and drop on one of these close by ones, and then use your wingsuit and your parachute to reach that point without having to traverse too much of the environment. These are just some of the tips and tricks that I was using in the early stages of the game. Of course, there's going to be a lot more Far Cry 6 content here on this channel, so if you want to see more of that, definitely make sure you stay tuned for that. Leave a like on this video, maybe even consider subscribing, and I will see you guys in the next one.